Today, we're going to cover something that is near and dear to my heart, something that I've been actually really focusing on the past year. And really, my intention is to teach everyone here how to make an extra 10, 20K per month as something I called an AI growth consultant. You guys probably familiar with how crazy and how opportunistic AI is happening right now. So I'm going to show you guys exactly what I've been doing. Some of you guys might be following me since like the old high ticket remote sales world. Some of you guys might be maybe even past students from when I was a coach or a consultant. But I want to help you guys figure out how to actually really tap into this AI boom that's happening right now. And most importantly, without needing to be techie, without needing to know a single line of code, without even having to do the fulfillment yourself. Or most importantly, for people who might want to start on this part-time. I know people here are doing marketing and sales and working remote sales. So you don't even have to leave or stop your current offer that you're selling right now. I personally didn't do this full time right away. I actually started off part time, and a huge element of this is still part time for me with my current existing business. I want to help. Also, here's a key thing for you guys to know. I want to help you guys save hundreds of hours of time when it comes to figuring out how to, build or research AI or code any of this stuff yourself. I'm not very techy. I still am not to this day. And most importantly, I want to help people who maybe want to take advantage of this AI stuff without necessarily needing to be like a master prompter, master coder, or even like super feeling that they're technical, right? So for those of you guys who stay until the end, I'll actually share how you can get your own customized AI consultant game plan, how to launch your own AI business, whether it's on the side, full time. I'll walk you guys through that process as well. So with that being said, here's the topics we're going to be covering today. I'm going to talk about first things first, the opportunity. So I want to talk about how to get rich selling shovels during the AI gold rush, right? What is the new AI growth consultant model and why I believe it's the number one way to actually cash in during this AI wave. And number three, I'm going to walk you guys through also the three-phase roadmap so that you guys can start winning within the next 90 days. Even if you're brand new to AI, like I was, towards the end of 2023, early 2024, I was brand new to this thing. And most importantly, how do you get results? How do you get results for your clients? How do you get paid the big bucks, being what I call the AI middleman? So if you're brand new to my world and you're like, okay, who is this guy that kind of looks like the Asian Childish Gambino? And maybe we're brand new. Hi, my name is Larry Antipora. Lawrence Antipora is my full name. But I've actually been in this space for a long time. What I'm talking about is the online space. So I closed over 5.4 million in high ticket sales when I was a full-time remote closer. I've actually scaled five separate sales teams from 6 to 7 figures as a sales manager and director. And I've coached over 200 plus business owners and sales reps over the many years that I've been in the online space. So I'm not some like 19-year-old that just came to the AI space like brand spanking new. I've actually seen the online space and digital marketing world really evolve throughout the years. And that's really my core intention for everyone here is I want to make sure that I give you guys the latest and greatest new insights when it comes to what is the digital landscape today, right? How can we take advantage of that? What is actually working? What's not working? Because I'm going to tell you guys all right now, a lot of people are still trying to preach and tell you kind of these lies that the old models are working. Things are changing. And the truth is, if we don't change with the times, we are often going to be left at the mercy of whatever is given to us. And oftentimes, that's not that great, right? So, for anyone out here, I want to talk about how the old world is dying, right? And here's the uncomfortable truth that no one really wants to admit. Um, with every passing month, we are actually setting ourselves up for failure if we do not actually adapt with this AI wave. And I'll tell you why. Well, first things first, I don't know if you guys have experienced this. When I was a remote sales closer, when back in all the way in like 2019 is actually when I got my start. Things were actually very lucrative. So it was really good it was really easy to sell these high ticket offers. It was really easy to actually sell on Zoom because the honest truth was, with the 2020 like influx of cash coming in from the government and with this new wave that everyone is kind of just riding, the coaching consulting agency world was fairly brand new to most people. So it was actually really easy to make a killing in high ticket sales. Like I was making 10, 15, 20K plus months, really working almost on a part-time basis as a remote closer back then. And the truth was, if I try to do that now, I would have inconsistent income months and low profit margins. In fact, a lot of the remote closers that I coached in 2024, and also parts of 2023, they were just as good. And sometimes some of these guys were like close to getting better than me at a certain trajectory, but they just had the market work against them, meaning they could never really find a good offer. They could never really sell a good offer. And most importantly, the saturation of the market was just like overwhelmingly against them. Pretty much what I'm noticing all across the board, whether you're a coach, an agency owner, or your remote sales, is we're facing feast and famine cycles due to just the saturation of the market, right? This was actually something I saw ahead of time. I actually saw this back in 2023, and I started to actually pivot my business in 2024 accordingly. But the initial boom of the coaching and SSMA days, right? The 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022. I'm gonna be I'm gonna be very harsh here. These days are over. The glory days that a lot of people that preach that initially got me into this cycle, it's done, right? And so it's a lot harder to not just find good offers, but the initial offers that used to print are actually now being commoditized. So a lot of these like business offers and coaching offers, these are actually drying up. And the flood of low quality offers in the market means you either end up closing for something you don't believe in, or you get stuck waiting for like the perfect deal, or waiting for the perfect client, or waiting for the client to just randomly hit you up and hope that they end up closing on your package. And the truth is, while that is still possible, the reality is that's so much harder. And the thing that I always notice as a closer, or even as an agency owner back in the early days, is your income is capped by how many calls you take, deals you close, and clients you serve. So you're still trading time for money. And I don't know about y'all, but the thing is, I want to get paid on my expertise, which is infinitely scalable, rather than just my labor, time in, time out, right? So the more you would scale sales calls, or the more that you'd scale clients, the more that you would scale just the actual offer, the more that you actually would just end up burning out. In fact, for anyone who doesn't know kind of my story, I actually ended up burning out in 2022. And it was not a fun ride. It was not a fun journey. And oftentimes, what actually led to that was just going to a place of feeling like I was on this hamster wheel, right? And so, what I want to show you guys today is what I believe is where the market is actually heading, right? So, if we're still thinking like 2022, we're going to get very low probability of success in this market. But if we think about 2025, 2026, 2023, 2030, 2035, right? If we're thinking like 10 years ahead, that's where we can actually position ourselves as an expert in that top 10% and start really making that top 10% income, right? Because here's the thing. I really asked myself this question in late 2023. What's the one skill that will help me get to 10 to 20K months the fastest in this new world, right? What's the fastest way that we can actually do this? Okay. Because the reality is, I want to do this with leverage. And what I realized is I needed to learn and master one skill. And this is the skill of the decade. So, like, pay close attention and take notes. It's learning how to leverage AI. Okay. Leveraging AI. So this might not be new to y'all. This might not be news, but I wanted to define what leveraging AI actually means, because a lot of the times I think people get lost on this vague definition of like, hey, learn AI. What does that actually mean? Well, I'm going to break it down into 2 points. Okay. So there's the macro skill set, and then there's the micro AI skill set. So the macro skill set is just AI, leveraging AI, right? But the micro skill set can actually be broken down into a couple things. And I wanted to find this for y'all because it's not enough to just learn or leverage AI. We actually want to get very focused on what specifically are we doing with AI. So here's a couple list of different micro AI skill sets. There's prompt engineering, AI automation and integration. There's AI agents, learning how to build those, AI chatbots, AI voice, custom GPT development, AI data interpretation, AI video and content creation, AI consulting, and then AI training and onboarding. So these are all micro AI skill sets that make up this macro big picture skill set of leveraging AI. So today, I want to really invite you guys into my world and what I believe is the best micro AI skill set, which is AI consulting, right? And anyone can do this. This is if you're super technical. This is maybe someone who's not super technical. Maybe you have a really like great sales and marketing background. If that applies to any of you y'all here, I'm going to tell you right now, you're in the perfect place because again, AI consulting is about leveraging your expertise, not necessarily your labor. I'm going to say that again, right? We're going to leverage our expertise, not our labor. And to be honest, you don't have to have hundreds of hours of like AI knowledge. You literally have to have just one step ahead of the client or the person that you're talking to. Okay? So let's define this. What is an AI growth consultant, right? What exactly is that? So I'm going to define a consultant as a paid expert who solves specific problems by providing strategy, insight, and direction. Okay? By providing strategy, insight, and direction. So rather than doing the work for your client, our job is a few key things. We diagnose problems, we prescribe solutions, we create a customized plan of action, we transfer knowledge and frameworks, and then last but not least, we guide the execution without necessarily being the one to implement every step, right? Now, it's really important for us to understand that because I think the definition of a consultant can kind of be confused, right? People are like, what exactly does a consultant even do, right? And sometimes you might think that a consultant is maybe the same as a coach or maybe the same as an agency owner or maybe even the same as like, a person who like builds things. Now, I'm going to define the difference of that here in a bit, but I want to talk about like what AI consulting really how it works. And there's like five key things that we want to be doing in our process, right? So first thing, this is like when I think back to when I was first getting in my AI consulting journey, there was like five key things that I did to go from zero to my first client. So first things first is we do five things. We find one potential growth partner. Now I'm going to define what exactly that is. If you're someone who's in remote sales or you might have an existing client base, oftentimes, your best case study is someone that's already an existing client or someone that you're already selling on an offer for, right? So I got to find my one potential growth partner. I'm going to define why that's a little bit different than just closing an agency client or closing on selling an offer for someone like an offer owner, right? Number two, I do these things called an AI audit. So I perform these AI audits on their systems and provide an AI strategy that they can use to actually help them scale. Number three, once I get agreement, like, hey, that strategy actually sounds good. I actually want to actually, deploy on that system. Then I actually sign them on as a client to implement these strategies and implement those AI systems into their business, right? Number four, I can either decide to install those simple pre-existing AI solutions myself, or I can connect them with a dev team to build out on my behalf. So I call this the AI middleman model. And I'm going to walk you guys through that at the tail end of this actual training on like how I act as the connector or the AI middleman during this gold rush. And then I charge them 5 to 10K, some per month, some like actual just flat out builds. And I like to usually go in this what I call like a rev share plus monthly retainer model. So this is the five key steps that I do when it comes to AI consulting. And if there's anything that you guys got from this, really to simplify it, is we get paid to help connect again, pre-existing AI solutions to help solve business owners' problems with leverage. The key word here is leverage. That's what an AI middleman does is I don't necessarily need to build out anything new from scratch. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel here. I just find existing problems, connect them with the right solution, and get paid handsomely for that. So let me talk through why this is so lucrative. Okay, we talked about how the old world was dying, and really what is this idea of getting rich during the gold rush of AI, right? So I'm going to walk us through this. Right now, the people who are really making money during this AI, gold rush are quote unquote, and you might have heard this concept before, but they're selling shovels. Okay. They're selling shovels to the people who are actually mining the quote unquote gold, right? If you think back to history, the people who actually made money during the gold rush, the highest probability of people making money was actually people who are selling shovels, right? AKA what I call the connectors. The miners had an existing problem, which is there is all this gold here, they wanted to tap into, but they didn't actually have a tool to tap into that, right? The tool. That was the missing piece. So the people who actually made the most money were the people who actually connected or sold shovels to these miners, connected them with a tool that they needed to mine this gold. Okay. So our job as AI consultants is literally just to connect these miners, AKA the business owners, with the proper tools to mine the gold or to make the money. Okay. So our job is to be a connector. And I want to make this very clear because I think this is one of the biggest misconceptions here is that there's a difference between being a connector in the AI space versus a builder. And my biggest like hesitancy to actually entering and going all in on AI was I used to think that I had to be this AI expert building all this code. I had to learn how to be a master prompt engineer. I had to like actually build out these like AI automations and tools myself. I had to build out this AI SaaS myself. And I realized, well, there is some merit to that. In fact, if you already have that skill set, you will have an advantage. The truth is, I could actually make more money with more leverage being the connector, right? Because personally speaking, I came from a sales background, I came from a connector background, and I wanted to double down on my strength instead of trying to necessarily learn a new skill set that I wasn't good at, coding or being techie or creating workflows or tools. And instead, I could actually make money during this gold rush by doing what I was already good at, which was connecting with people, connecting people to tools, finding out, a problem here, a goal here, connecting with them with a plan. That is really the skill set here, which is you're just really being a connector, right? And so when we can get that through our heads, we understand like, hey, I don't have to be someone who has to spend hundreds of hours, learning how to code or being super techie. That's when the aha moment happened for me. Okay? Because for anyone who doesn't know my story, right? Like my timeline and how I actually worked through this was I initially started out in, tech sales back in like 2017, 2018 era, right? Got into like the online sales world as like an agency owner in like 2018, 2019. So this is like me being an agency owner. This is me being in tech sales, right? I saw the boom of tech happening in 2017, 2018. I saw the boom of the coaching, consulting, and online world in 2020 through 2023 as a remote closer, right? And then I saw this boom of like AI start to sprout here around 2023 to 2024. And now we're really starting to ramp it up here in 2025, right? So during this time, I was actually back in, for anyone who might have known, I was actually a coach still in the remote sales space around early part of 2024, late 2023. And I just started to see all these problems with the coaching space. And so mid 2024, I actually decided to go all in on this AI consulting model because I saw this huge opportunity happen. And I want to actually talk about it. This is what the rise of the AI era is happening. And I don't know if you guys knew who Satya Nadella is. She's actually the CEO of Microsoft AI, right? Microsoft is, one of the leading people along with Google, right? There's Microsoft, there's obviously OpenAI, Anthropic, all these kind of like new companies coming in from this. But Satya said this quote, which is AI is perhaps the most transformative technology of our time. It will change how we work, live, and solve some of the world's biggest problems. Okay, so I want you guys to pay attention to this last line. Solve some of the world's biggest challenges. In the online business world, we get paid at the level of the problems and challenges we solve, right? So if we're able to solve more problems with more leverage, because of how we leverage our expertise when it comes to AI, we are the ones that are going to get paid handsomely for this. Okay. Like if you actually look at Sequoia Capital, so for anyone who doesn't know at Sequoia Capital, they are one of the leading venture capitalist firms in the world. I come from the Bay Area and they're one of the biggest VCs there. And they literally said, this is Pat Grady, one of the partners there. He goes, now is the moment for AI to become the theme of the next 10 plus years. In fact, let me zoom in here. Let me see if you guys can see this here. Boom, 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 boom. So if you guys look at this chart, it's actually really cool because Back in the 1990s, the era was the internet, right? That's where like Amazon, Google came in. 2000s, it was the early apps like Facebook, YouTube, right? 2010s, it was like the next generation of mobile. So we're talking Instagram, Airbnb, right? Coinbase, DoorDash, WhatsApp. 2020s is the era of AI. No one can deny the fact that if you had bought Bitcoin back in 2015, 2016, 2017, you would be a very rich and wealthy man or woman right now, right? Absolutely true. Whether you believe in crypto or not, if you had bought Bitcoin back in 2015, you would have become a very rich, wealthy man. Actually, let me actually look at this. What is the price of Bitcoin 2015? So let's look at this. Max. So 2015 price, it actually doesn't even go up all the way there, but 2016 was less than $500. Okay. I actually discovered, I was actually buying some Bitcoin back in college when it was around like $1,000. I didn't really buy that much because I honestly didn't think it was going to be, I thought I didn't think it was going to be as big as it is today, right? It's at 117,000 right now. But if you had the opportunity to buy Bitcoin in 2015, 2016, 2017, let's say you bought a whole Bitcoin or more, you'd be a very happy man or woman right now, right? And the only difference between the most successful people and those who kind of just like middle of the pack or get left behind is they're able to spot a trend early, take advantage of that trend early, and really capitalize the hell, like really milk that opportunity. So here's the cool thing. Anyone who's watching this right now, who's watching this training right now, you have one of those three. You've spotted a trend early, which is we know that AI is the next thing. It's the theme of the decade. Okay. But that's not enough, right? I spotted the trend of Bitcoin early. And while I am very happy with my crypto portfolio, I still wish I bought more. I really wish that not only did I take advantage of it, but I really did the third one, which is I really capitalized and milked as much of it as possible. So everyone here has the first one. They spotted the trend early. But my invitation to you is you start to take advantage of this trend. And then most importantly, you actually start to capitalize and milk the hell out of this trend, right? Is we want to actually capitalize on this trend. Because I want to show you guys, all we're doing is taking bets in the market, right? That's truly what it is. And it is very clear that those who are able to take risk and take bets early, right? That is who that is the winners of this market, right? I want to win this market because it is very clear that there is something special about AI right now that the largest industries, the largest banks are seeing, and they're spending billions on it. In fact, in the banking sector, and this is actually a bit outdated. This is just in 2023 alone. The banking sector invested 20.6 billion US dollars. Okay, I'm sure that number is a lot higher now in 2025 because I remember I was joking around with a friend in a business mastermind a while back, and I was like joking with him. I said like, "Hey, if I had a time machine, obviously besides buying more Bitcoin, one of the things I'd do 10 years ago, back in 2014, 2015, was actually spend more money on Facebook ads, right? Like if I had my business back then, I knew Facebook ads was I'd identified the trend. I was taking advantage of Facebook ads actually. I was like starting to use it for like my old drop shipping store, but I wasn't capitalizing it. That, and the third one is the most important thing is we got to monetize and really capitalize the hell out of it, right? Those who actually understood how big of an opportunity and how big of a blue ocean Facebook ads were back then and actually implemented it, those are the big names that you see in today, right? Alex Ramosi, Sam Ovens, Russell Brunson, Alex Becker, some of the biggest names in our space. That's actually what they did is they spotted the trend of social media and Facebook ads, paid traffic early and just milked the hell out of it, right? They had more conviction than anyone else. So my biggest business regret of this past decade is that I only dabbled with Facebook ads, right? When it was extremely undervalued and you can get appointments for literally pennies on the dollar back then, right? I made some money. You know, I was in college making 3 to 4K per month drop shipping as a college student. That was solid money as a college student. But I could have made life-changing money if I truly understood how powerful that opportunity here, right? And if just my question for you guys, if you want to know the difference between the most successful business owners versus those who get left behind, is the winners of the past decade, the Alex Hormozis, the Sam Ovens, the Alex Beckers, they understood two key truths. Okay. The true power and opportunity of social media, right? Having an online audience, a personal brand, paid ads, right? And then number two, how to implement this disrupting technology inside of their business. So I realized, in fact, when I thought about it, I actually didn't need a time machine because the next big thing was once again right in front of my face. Right? I'm going to say it again. The next big thing is right in front of my face. Bitcoin, Facebook ads, it's happening all over again with this AI revolution. Right? That's what's happening right now. So the beautiful thing is we can actually use the same principles of success to apply to this new opportunity. Okay? And the winners of this next decade understand these two key truths: the true power and opportunity of AI, and how to implement this disrupting technology inside of their business. So here's my belief: AI technology is the greatest opportunity of this next decade. I think it's the best opportunity we've had since the internet. So, my important question for y'all is, do you want to be a Karen on the sidelines watching as history repeats itself and complain the robots are going to take over the world? Or do you want to become an AI powered business owner that takes a huge piece of this huge pie, right? No worries either way you choose, but for those who want to consider the possibility of what it looks like to get an unfair advantage with AI, I'm going to walk you guys through the roadmap right now. So whether you're in a 9 to 5 right now, whether you're a coach or consultant, or you're an agency owner, or you're in remote sales, you can start this part-time as well. In fact, that's what I invite everyone to start, is you can easily make at least bare minimum 5K per month, ideally 10K per month doing this part-time, right? In as little as 5 to 10 hours per week. Now, I know that's a bold claim, but the reason why that's possible is because once you actually learn how to use the highest leverage tool in our market right now, which is AI, this is what I'm literally able to do. I literally have one client that pays me 4K per month in a little as 2 hours of work, right? Now, not every client is going to be like that, but that is what's possible when you learn how to tap into the most important tool as a business owner, which is leverage through AI. Okay. So, with that being said, let's dive into this. What is the 3 phase roadmap that we're going to be using? How do we honestly just want to think about this whole piece? Okay. So, there's 3 parts to this. I'm going to break it down. Okay. There is your AI offer, which is what I call the growth partner model. Okay. There's AI client acquisition. Okay. Which is obviously the sales and marketing aspect. And then the last piece is what I call the AI middleman fulfillment model. So how can we actually deliver results for our clients without being super techy? Or for some people, and I have clients like this, without even actually having to do the work yourself. So how do we outsource this, right? So we are going to cover at a high level all 3 of these things. Now, I'm not going to be able to have the time to go in depth into each thing. Like client acquisition could be its own training itself. I'm mainly going to really touch on the offer and also just the offer, the delivery of the offer, right? Because those are the key things that are very different. Like the AI client acquisition, I can go at a high level for that, but really I want to talk about the most important things, which is the offer and the middleman. Okay, so let's talk about the offer first. How do we actually want to think about the offer? So it's a lot different than kind of the agency model that some people might be more familiar with. So a lot of the agency model is really based on just a pure monthly retainer. Okay. I've actually switched away from that simply because, again, the way that you position yourself is we want to position ourselves as an expert, okay, that gets paid based on results. So I'm not coming in from this from a place of like labor, okay? I think that's like the biggest thing that I want us to kind of think through is this is not an AI automation agency, right? Because we get paid as an expert, not a laborer. You're also not a remote sales rep. So you're actually launching your own AI business, your own AI offer. And really, the cool thing that's advantageous about this is we're actually getting equity in a sense to our own business, to a part of that, our growth partners, clients' businesses, and really allowing our personal brand and our case studies to compound results. And this is not just another coaching offer. So we're not commoditizing ourselves with a way on how to coach people through AI. We're actually really selling more of the plan and the actual strategy to become the signal amongst the noise. So I do want to make those key distinctions because that is why this model is very different. Is I take a huge emphasis on actually being a quote unquote like growth partner inside of the business so that I can get equity through monthly rev share. And then I also get consistency through MRR through the retainer. So I'm combining the best of both worlds on this, which is people pay me based on results. So not on how many hours or deliverables I'm giving. They literally just get me paid based on the transformation that I help them get. So that's a key distinction that I want for you guys to understand in this offering is I'm really, for example, like I'll give you guys a breakdown of one of my current offers that I'm doing for one of my clients right now is 10% of all sales we bring in plus 4K MRR. So I'm combining the agency model where you get paid on a retainer, but I'm also being paid as a consultant and I'm getting quote unquote equity, right? You're not necessarily getting paid equity in terms of having a share of their business, right? I don't own 5% of their business, but I have an attachment to the performance through quote unquote equity based on the rev share of all sales. So that's what I highly recommend everyone thinks through in terms of this model. And what I also recommend is if you're starting out, maybe you're brand new. Um, the easiest way to get started, and this is how I got started kind of earlier on, is instead of charging the MRR, you can purely start off performance based for let's say 30 to 90 days, hit some key milestones, and then once you actually start to get some real results for your clients, you can tack on the MRR, right? And then you can kind of negotiate maybe a smaller rev share with some MRR or a higher rev share for less MRR. There's different ways to do this, right? And that's kind of the power that I love with this is every client is a different deal. So it's not like every client has to be 10% with 4K MRR. Some clients I have a bigger rev share with less MRR, right? So turning this maybe to like say 15% for like 2K per month. Some people I've seen like do this model like completely just rev share, so like 20% for like no MRR. And then there's some people who kind of done, I've done this model as well before, is you start out with some, let's say like a flat fee build out, anywhere from like 3 to 5K, and then you tack on the percentage or MRR, right? So you win them over first with a flat fee, and then you go into your percentage model. So there's different models to do this. The key thing here is we really want to focus on actually getting some sort of equity or skin in the game, because then, let's say you take one of my clients I took starting out at they're averaging about 15 to 20K per month. And in June, they grossed over 140K in that month, right? So going back into and like kind of thinking of this as like an investor is you want to be investing in these like startups or coaching or consulting companies or local businesses. You want to be part of their growth and take a slice of that pie through AI because the truth is when they know how to actually implement on the right AI strategy, businesses must grow, right? This is like an actual law of businesses. When you use leverage through the latest technology, they have to grow. The problem is a lot of these business owners, whether online or local businesses, they just don't know where to start with AI. They know they want to use AI. They know it's like the booming thing, just like everyone else in this actual call, but they just don't know how to actually use it. So there's that big question mark, and that's where you guys come in, right? They know they have this goal, right? They're currently here, and they know they have this gap that they want to solve through AI. You simply need to be the person that's like, hey, you have this big question mark of AI. This is actually what you have to do, right? And then all you do is just start mapping out the plan and help them implement until eventually they hit their goal. And then you get a percentage of that pie and MRR based on that pie. So that's really the model. That's really the offer. It's that simple. People don't need to overcomplicate it. Really, that's the key is if you can position yourself in this manner and, positioning and how you actually, poise yourself as an authority, the frame of that is really the key difference here. Because if you position yourself just as an agency, like an AI automation agency, they're actually just going to see you more as a laborer, almost like an employee with golden handcuffs, as opposed to when you position yourself really as the expert, right? There's a higher leverage in the dynamic there, and that's where you can actually command that percentage or that equity or that rev share. Okay? So we're actually able to use AI, whether it's outbound AI sales reps or inbound AI. You're actually able to use AI in different tools like Apollo to actually help book calls on your behalf. So the coolest thing is if you're not great at client acquisition, you can actually leverage AI within yourself to book calls, to send out customized looms, to send out and get the latest intel and research on clients to personalize your outreach. You can actually use AI to become the signal amongst the noise to book more calls. That's like one piece. But really, I want to show you guys kind of the math on how to really get to a 20K per month business because I want to show you guys that you're truly only 1 to 3 clients away to get to 20K per month, right? So let's say you have one client who's giving you 4K per month plus a 10% rev share. Okay. And let's say you help that client get to like 100K per month in sales. So you're able to get literally 10K from one client because of you helping them get to 100K per month in cash collected, right? That one client can literally bring you 14K. And all you would need to do is bring on another client that brings you 4K MRR through some other deal or just through some performance space through the equity, right? So you can literally get to 14K above 10K with one client, or if you want to push to 20K, right? So you have 4K with one client here, and then through the percentage, you're able to actually bring in another 2K per month through that, right? So you have 6K coming in from one client. That's literally 2 clients that you can use to get to that 20K per month. So one of the beauties of the client acquisition process here in this model is that you only really need 1 to 3 clients to get to 20K. You can, to be honest, if you like absolutely smash it out of the park, you can get to 10 or 20K per month with just one client. So that's why I say that this can actually be done part-time simply because you don't need that many clients. You don't need to scale to a coaching program with like 20, 30, 50 clients. You don't need to have like 5 clients at, 2K per month on retainer as an agency. As a remote closer, getting 20K per month required me taking 8 to 10 like sales calls on a daily basis. So that would take like, 50 plus hours a week just closing calls. And in my opinion, while those are all great, it was still not as leveraged as what I'm doing now, right? I've been an agency owner, I've been a coach, I've been a remote closer. And to be honest, the fastest path, going back to that initial question, to get to 20K per month is an AI consultant when you use this growth partner model. Because I don't need to start from scratch finding new clients every single month, right? That's the beauty of this is like client acquisition doesn't need to be like a monthly thing that you do. Literally, you can just really focus, right? The game plan that I recommend is in month one, your first 30 days, you're like literally you just close one client. Okay. Month two, you focus on delivering on that client using the AI middleman process. And by month three, once you get some initial results, you launch that first client, you can then get your second client. Okay. Right. So the key here is like we talked about, you only really need 2 clients to get to 20K in the next 90 days. My whole process here is not about trying to get everyone to close a client every single month for the next year. Literally, if all you wanted to do was get to 20K per month, just focus on getting your first client, your first 30 days, focus on delivering on that said client on month two, and then month three, while you're still delivering for that first client, you onboard your second client, right? That's really the money math when it comes to client acquisition to get to that 20K per month. And why this new model is like so leveraged is because we don't need 5 clients. We don't need 10 clients. We don't need to spend 8 to 10 hours a day sitting on our butts all day trying to close calls and bring in new clients every month. You can literally do this with 1 to 3 growth partner clients and just be happy doing this part time. If you want to go full time and scale it to like 30, 40, 50K plus per month like me, great. Just repeat that same process. But this is the beauty of being able to take advantage of not only just the AI space, but also the online model, which is like when I look at the agency model, when I look at the coaching model, when I look at the remote sales model, all those are good. But this is the great exceptional model, the one model that can truly catapult people to that 20K per month in 90 days with only like 1 or 2 clients, right? That's why I love this model because when you actually do the math, when you actually look at it, in 90 days, you can realistically do this, right? That's what I did. That's what you guys can do as well, right? So with that being said, that's the client, that's just the math behind the client acquisition. Like I said, I'm not going to go super deep into the how-to of this in this training because that's a whole workshop in itself. But I do want to finish before we end today's training on what the middleman process actually looks like. Okay? So I'm going to break down why I call this the AI middleman because I think this, again, was my biggest limiting belief when I first started this model was I had to be a super techie person myself. I had to master like prompt engineering, right? I had to be a builder myself. I had to like code stuff. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, just through my experience through this, you don't have to be any of this. You don't have to be techie. You don't have to be a prompt engineer. You don't have to be a builder. You don't even have to spend like hundreds of hours studying AI. In fact, I don't actually recommend that because you get stuck in all these rabbit holes that you end up going in circles with. So all you really have to do, again, is connect pre-existing AI solutions with the problems that business owners have today. Okay. All we are is we are a connector. Okay. We are a connector. So I'm going to show you the 3 paths that I've taken to fulfill for clients as an AI consultant. And you can use any of these paths yourself. You can start with one, you can do all 3 at the same time. I recommend you start with one in the beginning because that is really the best way to just master focus in this space, right? So the 3 paths to fulfill for your clients as the AI middleman is you can either partner with AI agencies, right? Some people have called this like white labeling in the past. You can either outsource this to a dev team, right? So there's a little bit of hiring that's involved with there, a little bit of interviewing that's involved with there. And this can be internal or external, meaning you hire your own dev team or you hire an external dev team. Okay. And then the third path is what I call one-click fulfillment. One-click fulfillment. So one-click fulfillment is taking existing AI workflows that are already built out from someone like me or maybe something that you've purchased in the past and literally just installing it with one click inside of the actual business. Now, it's not it's not as just like one-click magic as it sounds. I'll kind of explain more in a little bit here what that does entail. But those are the 3 paths. Partner with AI agencies, outsource this work to a dev team, or do what I call one-click fulfillment. Now, you can literally remove yourself from fulfillment from anywhere to 50 to 100% based on which path you choose, right? So you can remove yourself about 50%, or you can even remove yourself 100%. Now, I'm going to show you guys what I'm currently doing right now. But the truth is, even from the beginning, you can outsource fulfillment to about 50%, which is really great, right? Because any model like coaching or agency work, most of the time it's like you're doing all the fulfillment. So not only do you have to market, create an offer, and fulfill for your clients at like 100%, but you also got to do like content and out and like operations and financials. Like there's a lot of things that you have to do as a business owner, right? So fulfillment here, I'm going to break down based on which path you choose. So if you partner with an AI agency, you can outsource fulfillment to about 90 to 100%. If you get with a really good AI agency that like knows their account management, like you can outsource 100% of your fulfillment. And all you need to do is focus on closing deals. Like all you need to do is literally finding new clients and you can have an agency fulfill literally 100% of the work. That is possible, right? But there is a caveat. You have to make sure that you really vet that AI agency and they get your clients good results, right? Dev team. So you can outsource about 80% of fulfillment here. So I say 80%, and this is actually the path that I chose. I've done all three, but this is the one that I've decided to double down on. So having my own internal dev team has been great. It has taken a lot of work. It does cost a lot of money, but you can outsource fulfillment to about 80%, which is great. Now, you might be asking yourself, all right, what is the other 20%? Well, the 20% is really just account management. Okay. So while my devs focus on the technical, building out an actual like creating of the solutions and implementing and building the solutions, all I really focus on the 20% here is just make sure the client's happy. So I'm really just focusing on the communication, managing the account, managing the client, making sure the devs got everything they need, and really just working on communication. I love that because really all that takes is about an hour a week being on meetings. So one client, really I'm focused on just meetings and managing my dev team and managing my clients and making sure everyone's happy. So I'm just the liaison communicator between the two parties, right? Again, being a connector. And then last but not least, one click fulfillment. So this is about 50%. The reason it's about 50% is there will be some no code building that you do have to do, right? What you're doing in terms of connecting is you're finding existing solutions that already exist and then finding problems and then really looking at like your archive of existing solutions. So you might have 3 to 5 different workflows or automations or AI agents that you're connecting a business with. You already have that built out because maybe you've gotten it from someone or you've installed it yourself or worked with someone to kind of help you create these existing flows. And then you got to still build the last 50% to customize. So an example of this is having existing Go high level workflows, installing it into other people's businesses, and then you got to customize it to their business because a lot of these workflows aren't going to be super customized. So you still have an element of customization that you will be doing, right? So that's really the model there. And really the key here is I'm still the middleman in every part of the fulfillment, okay? Whether it's the agency, right? Like if you think about the agency, and then there's the client, and here's you. I am the connector between these two, right? And in fact, oftentimes you don't even need to tell them that they're working with an agency. You're just the one that's communicating between them. You're communicating with the agency and they're communicating with you, right? But again, you're still the connector between this business transaction here, right? In this dev model, the devs are doing the work. Here's the client. Here's you. Okay. Here's the problem. Here's the solution. I'm just bringing this together to get completion. Okay. And I'm the connector between the account management. Right. Last model. Here's the client. Here's the pre-existing AI solution that you maybe downloaded or bought before. Here's you. All right. You find out the problem. Here's the solution. You connect that, right? And then you'll have to customize that last 50%. So my whole job here is, again, I am just focusing on connecting. I try as much as possible not to build anything. In fact, what I'm doing is I'm connecting the builders of this world with the business owners of this world, right? That's all I'm doing. I am the bridge between these two things. So that is what the AI middleman model is. And based on what path you choose, right, you can increase or decrease your margins based on which path that it is. So there's pros and cons to each side. There's different profit margins for each model, but that's really the best thing. If you do want to actually book a time with me, I'm doing free AI game plan strategy calls. So again, from the beginning of the call, I said if you want a customized AI game plan on how to launch your own AI business, I am opening up my calendar this week and early next week. Spots are limited. I'm not going to open this up forever. So you can book out a time with me. Again, I don't really even have anything to pitch you right now because I don't know if this is a good fit for you, right? I do have an actual one-on-one mentorship and a cohort that I am launching later in Q3. But as of right now, I don't have an official offer for this, right? Because it is closed. My last cohort is closed, is currently going on right now. It's currently closed. But if you do want to get in the waitlist for the next cohort that I am launching closer to probably end of August, middle of August, then go ahead, book a call with me. Let's talk about if that's an actual good opportunity for you. And if you don't even want to join any of that and all you care about is just getting an actual AA game plan to implement yourself, that's totally fine too. My incentive in that is as I'm having conversations with people who are potentially a good fit for this, I have data for my upcoming offer. So I just want to be very transparent in that. Even if you're not a good fit or you want to implement this stuff on your own, it's a win-win for both sides. I get data, insights from my target market to improve my offer and my upcoming cohort. You guys get free coaching from me, get insights, get a customized game plan, and potentially, if you're a good fit for the upcoming cohort, I'll put you on the wait list for that as well.